So Sony backtracks on a bad decision, and they're also beginning to cheat. Is Microsoft failing or succeeding as well? We'll get more into that later on. And then the Insomniac Leaks. Then Bethesda has big plans for Starfield. Microsoft might offer a new, cheaper Game Pass, and something a little naughty, but safe for work. These are the stories tonight on the Console Wars podcast. Okay, so before we begin, first off, I want to give you a heads up that next Sunday we will not be doing an episode for the Console Wars podcast because I may be out of town on Sunday, and then also it's kind of like the final week of the year, and you're going to be seeing a lot of news dying down anyway, so there probably won't be any severe news. Watch this 1 week. They're going to, Nintendo is going to announce that they're not going to make another console again or something like that. They're not going to do that, but with my luck, something big will drop this next week. If you haven't already, go check out our video we did on the worst movies I saw this year. It was kind of fun doing that again. I enjoyed doing that last year. And then in the next week, possibly two, but most likely next week, we will do the best movies I saw this year. So look out for that. I'll leave a link down in the description for the worst movies I saw this year. And then don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, share this video, and comment down below. I won't ask that on any of the other videos but the Console Wars podcast because it's a long-form video. And if you have any questions for me pertaining pop culture or video game news, throw them in the comments down below, and the most interesting one I will answer in the following week that we film. Obviously not next week, because I'm not planning on doing an episode next week. And so, with that being said, let's get on to the first major story of the evening. So, a while back, it was announced that any video you purchase on Sony's platform for Discovery, especially Discovery TV shows, they were losing kind of the rights to those programs on their platform, and they were going to be shutting off all Discovery TV shows and purchases, regardless if you already paid for them, you would not have access to them anymore, and they only gave like a month warning. No one liked this, especially people who bought season after season of Discovery TV shows, and it was a lot of people saying this is why we shouldn't completely get rid of physical media, and Sony finally folded and announced that we are not going to have people lose access to their Discovery TV shows that they've purchased. This article from Push Square: turns out you won't lose access to those Discovery TV shows on PlayStation after all, for the time being at least. The article goes on to read, earlier this month it emerged that due to expiring licenses, certain Discovery TV shows you may have purchased via PS Store would vanish from your library. It became quite a hot story, that's an understatement, highlighting the potential dangers of an all-digital future where access to your owned items could be revoked at any moment. As it turns out, this particular example of that horror story isn't happening after all. Reported by GameIndustry.biz, Sony has established an updated licensing agreement with Warner Brothers. Let me translate that for you. They paid the money that Warner Bros. Wanted for the licensing agreement. They didn't want to pay it, and then they decided to pay it. To continue on, which owns Discovery. This means that you won't be losing access to your previously purchased shows and can continue to enjoy them for at least the next 30 months. Similar to other services, we do not own the licensing rights to TV movie content that was previously available for purchase on the PlayStation Store, said PlayStation in the update. However, we've worked with Warner Bros. To update our licensing agreements, ensuring that consumers will be able to access their previously purchased content for at least the next 30 months. So your Discovery shows aren't going anywhere for a good 2.5 years. Once this updated license expires, however, we could be back to square one. So brace yourselves for that eventuality. This is similar to when they announced that they were shutting down the PS3, PlayStation Vita, and PSP stores. Everyone got upset, and that's like, okay, we're just shutting down the PSP store. And PS3 and PS Vita are still up and running. No one knows how long. A lot of people theorize that any day now they may announce it. And you look at Microsoft, when they announced that they were shutting down the Xbox 360 store, they announced that, guys, we no longer are running this. We're going to keep it open for a year so you can finish up your purchases. But once that's done, it's going to be turned off. And that seemed to have gone over a lot better than when Sony said, yeah, in the next 3 months we're shutting down PlayStation 3, PlayStation Vita, and PlayStation Portable storefronts. And so I totally see Sony doing something like that in the near future for PlayStation 3 and PlayStation Vita. And I am a huge proponent for physical media. Do I have digital? Yes, I do. I have plenty of digital media, especially since a lot of times a game digitally, especially when it's on sale, will be infinitely cheaper than a physical copy. Now, do I prefer physical over digital? Absolutely. I can trade in if I don't like the game. I can give it to a friend. I can look at the box. I can, read the manual, read all the little print. I can take the disc out. It's kind of like a ritual for me. And with digital, I can't do that. With digital, if I get a game that I don't like, I'm stuck with it. And I'm surprised that no one has made like an option of revoking a digital license on like a game storefront, and in turn you get like 30% of what you paid or 40% depending on the game. Brighter minds than me would have to figure out how that would work, but I think something like that would be well received in the future for people that got game for $3. They played it. It's like, this isn't my cup of tea, but I'm stuck with it now. And I wish I could put that towards something else. So I totally see a storefront doing that at some point in the future, whether it's a year in the future or 10 years in the future. So this next one is a little infuriating to me. Sony released like this official statement claiming that they have officially passed 50 million units sold for the PS5. And a lot of people are thinking, wow, that's impressive. I mean, you look at the list of highest selling consoles of all time, it's surpassed the Super Famicom or the SNES, and it's just behind the Xbox One in their total lifetime sales. And Xbox Series X and S are down at 21 million. So, like, Sony is whipping their ass. But then again, just want to remind everyone, Sony announced that the PlayStation Portal they're going to count as a console sale. And I said a few episodes ago on the Console Wars podcast, I'm going to say again, that is such a complete bullshit move. I cannot stress that enough. The PlayStation Portal cannot play any game natively without a PS5. It is a peripheral. It is an attachment and nothing more. It is a glorified TV screen. It is not a console. The fact that Sony is counting it as a console sale is a dick move. It is a cheap shot. And honestly, I don't trust any of those sales figures now when it comes to the PS5 because they're just lumping in PlayStation Portal sales numbers onto their PS5s. I think their sales are probably more like 25 million, 27 million, being generous with that. And the PlayStation Portal has increased that by 3 million. I don't know if they've sold 2 or 3 million yet, but I don't think they've sold that many Portals yet. And so when it comes to the end of the generation, you might have Xbox Series X at 80 million and Sony has their PS5 at over 100 million, but it's like, how many of that is actually PS5 console sales? And especially if they get up to the numbers of like the PlayStation 2 and they claim the title of the highest selling console of all time, I'm going to call bullshit on it because they're counting the Portal as PS5 console sales. And so I would love to be wrong about this. If there's some article saying that no, PlayStation Portal is being counted as separate console sales, I want to see it. I want Sony to come out and say, we are not counting the PlayStation Portal as PlayStation 5 console sales. I don't think they're going to do it. And I think it's a very cheap move that they're doing. This humorous meme someone made on Twitter with Marge and Homer. And yeah, I think this meme's pretty accurate. Keep in mind, I'm not a Xbot that secretly hates Sony. I mean, I got a PS5, I got a PS3, I have another PS console that I am not refilling yet because I want to kind of surprise people with that video that's coming out soon. And I have a PlayStation VR one, so I'm definitely into PlayStation, okay? I spend money on PlayStation. It's not like, oh yeah, I'm a PlayStation fan. I don't have any PlayStation consoles, but I'm a PlayStation... No, I have plenty of PlayStation content. You've seen me with PlayStation shirts. It's just, I'm willing to criticize companies when they screw up. So, but this meme actually leads into another story that we're not getting to yet. First, I want to talk about this other thing that kind of ties in with the PlayStation sales. And that's with weird reporting I'm getting on Xbox sales. Over on Pure Xbox, this article report claims Xbox Series X and S sales have fallen by around 15% in 2023 to somewhere in the region of only 7.6 million. And I'm not going to read the article, but like this report, it's in Spanish, and the little diagram they show that the Nintendo Switch has drastically dropped, and the Xbox Series X has like raised a little bit in 2021 and 2022, but then it tapered off and dropped in 2023, and then they show PlayStation just skyrocketing. And look, I'm not surprised by PlayStation having more consoles sold than Xbox. PS4, that generation, wiped out Xbox with the terrible moves made by Don Matrick with the Xbox One. I mean, it is a miracle that Xbox is not dead because of that psycho. And so, with that generation, PlayStation made all the right moves. They had a decent person as the head of PlayStation at the time. And, I mean, they just wiped the floor with Xbox. So when moving from the PlayStation 4 to the next generation, are you going to jump off of PlayStation 4, which has been really reliable, and you have all your DLC and your digital games, and you're used to that ecosystem, to Xbox, or are you going to get PS5? That's what I did. I got a PS5 first, and I have not been happy with the PS5 like I was with the PS4. I've made no secret about that. But I don't think the PS5 is completely out of the game yet, in my opinion. I did make a video about how I thought the Xbox was going to win this generation. My opinion can still easily change because of that, especially since Jim Ryan is no longer calling the shots at Sony, especially with PlayStation, which I think is a good thing. I think that saved Sony because he was just driving that company into the ground like Don Matrick was doing with Xbox. And I'm really looking forward to seeing who the next CEO of Sony Entertainment Interactive, whatever the sub-company of Sony is that runs PlayStation, is going to be. But this report kind of confused me because their sales have fallen around 15%, and yet Black Friday, same website, Pure Xbox, Xbox Series X and S gets huge UK sales boost thanks to Black Friday 2023, up 231% from the previous month. So they see an increase in sales, not by 10 or 20%, 231% in just England alone, and yet their sales have fallen around 15%. Like, their sales must have been like 900% the year before around Black Friday. I mean, that's the kind of logic I gained from this. And so I'm dubious about this claim that their sales have dropped around 15% in 2023. I mean, you saw the release of Starfield, you saw the release of Forza Motorsport, Hi-Fi Rush, and even Redfall. I know Redfall was a bomb, but there were some people, it's like, hey, I love Arcane Studios, and that's going to be exclusive to Xbox. I'm getting an Xbox Series X. There were people out there like that. And then when they played Redfall, it's like, they probably regretted their decision then, but then they knew that other things were coming out, like Forza Motorsport or Starfield. And the amount of games coming from Xbox on the Series X is enough to keep a person excited. I mean, they have a lot of interesting games coming. So I'm very dubious about this report, just like I'm dubious about Sony hitting the 50 million milestone. If that's true, congrats, Sony. But I don't know. Before I get on to the next topic, because the next topic is going to be a big ordeal, real quick, I just want to point this out to everyone. Friday the 13th, the game, is about to be delisted. And right now on Xbox, I think it's the same over on PlayStation and maybe Nintendo Switch, but on Xbox, it's only $5. And all of the DLC is like 99 cents each. I don't think all the DLC is worth getting, because some of it's only usable for the online multiplayer, like the counselor costumes. I don't think you can use that in the offline portion. But the Jason DLC that gives you like additional like kills and moves, you can use those in the offline portion. So definitely you want to grab those, because they're only 99 cents a pop. But I grabbed this for $5. I've been playing around a little bit with Friday the 13th. There's some fun to be had, especially if you enjoyed some of the films. There's definitely a lot of Easter eggs. It's still going to continue to function for at least a year after it gets delisted. And there's still physical copies of this game out in the wild that you can grab. So just something you might want to keep in mind before this shuts down. I believe it's going to be delisted December 31st, 2023. And so there's like a week left. Yeah, there's 10 days left before it gets delisted. And then the servers are going to function for another year afterwards. So if you're into multiplayer and you like horror games, you might want to check this out. If you're not nuts about it, it's only $5. So it's not that big of a loss. And so, yeah, just want to throw that out for everyone who might be interested in that. So this next segment is going to be a doozy. We're going to talk about Insomniac and the leaks that happened this last week. In last week's episode of the Console Wars podcast, I talked about how this hacker group was holding Insomniac ransom, demanding like $2 million, and they were also putting some of it on the black market. I think probably they were putting the personal data on the black market, and they released the physically gaming data to everyone else, and they have released terabytes of internal information. Like, this is huge. This is one of the biggest leaks I've seen in gaming, bigger than 2020's Last of Us Part 2 leaks. And with The Last of Us, it was just aspects of the game that were leaked. With this is not only aspects of their upcoming game, it's aspects of games that haven't been announced, and it's also some details from other studios. Like, this thing has hurt Sony bad, in a bad way. And, like, I will go ahead and say I do not support this hacking group. I don't think they should have done this. I don't think it's right that they did this. But at the same time, I think it's absolutely ridiculous that there are certain gaming news outlets that are trying to shame people into not talking about the leaks. And like there are some people being called out for being hypocrites because like they talked about the Grand Theft Auto leaks, they talked about Xbox leaks, they talked about all kinds of leaks, but when it comes to Sony, it's like, no, we are not going to talk about the leaks because we are a higher moral standard. And it's like, dude, you talked about everyone else's leaks. It's like, yeah, well, we're not talking about that right now. And so, I do not hold that same view. If this is out in the wild, I'm going to talk about it. Now, before talking about the leaks, I want to make something very clear. Insomniac is on a razor's edge right now. If Insomniac decides to pull the same dog shit that Naughty Dog did back in 2020 when The Last of Us Part 2 was leaked, mark my words, Insomniac, it will be fucking war. Okay? What Naughty Dog did is not acceptable. I refuse to buy any new IP that Naughty Dog is working on because of the bullshit that they pulled with YouTube content creators back in 2020. Okay? So, Insomniac is in the same position. There's sensitive information out in the wild. And a part of me understands. I don't fully agree with it, but I can understand if there's like an actual screenshot or an actual piece of footage out in the wild, I can understand them issuing a DMCA strike against that content. I don't agree with it, but I can understand it. And they have been doing that with leaked footage. But Insomniac, if you start issuing DMCA strikes against people just talking about the information, it is over. I will not buy another Insomniac game. And I will tell everyone else to not buy another Insomniac game. We are not going to put up with this bullshit like we got from Naughty Dog. Okay? There's people out there, they like to say that people are upset at Naughty Dog because they made Ellie a gay character. No one's upset at them because of that. Okay? They're upset at Naughty Dog because they ruined a great character, which I can forgive, but they went after people for literally just criticizing them. The DMCA strikes got so bad in 2020 that there were people who were saying, this is wrong of Naughty Dog, they shouldn't do it. They got a DMCA strike. There were people, they were just showing trailer footage of the first teaser trailer that was publicly released. DMCA strike. And you may think, well, you're wrong. I mean, they're completely justified to... No. Not a single YouTuber that appealed their strike lost. Every YouTuber won their appeal. It took several weeks, but they all won. Okay? If something gets leaked out into the wild, you are legally allowed to talk about it. Now, the person who leaked it, they're liable for lawsuit and, suffering the hands of the court. But an average normie like you or me, we can talk about all we want. So, if this video gets struck down over me talking about the leaks, then we got 2020 all over again. And I'm not going to hurt by not buying anything from Insomniac. I do not have a need to buy more games. I got plenty of games, and I would rather fight for my rights to talk about stuff in the wild than to go, oh, okay, may I please have some more, sir? So, no. I'm going to talk about the leaks with the understanding that I don't want Insomniac to suffer. I don't want Insomniac to shut down. I want Insomniac, hell, to make 99% of these leaks actually happen. some of these are kind of cool. The information that was leaked, it's like, okay, that's kind of cool. I'm interested in that. There's a couple of things that I'm not particularly nuts about, but Insomniac has not crossed that line yet. And so, let us begin. So, this article from Push Square talks about the leaks coming out from the hacker group because Sony refused to pay. Probably a smart move. Let them know that you can't get money out of us doing this. There was some casino in Las Vegas. The 2 casinos got hit. One paid, MGM didn't. And someone was saying the one that paid, they're just going to get hit again in a few months because the hackers know that they'll get paid. But if you stand firm and you say no, they may not hit them again. Because it's like, what's the point? So, I don't know. There might be someone saying, oh, there's ways of, getting money out of them if they don't pay. But continuing on with this article, a week after a ransomware group alleged to have infiltrated Sony's first-party Insomniac games, leaked documents are allegedly beginning to emerge online. This follows on from apparent footage and concept art of the upcoming Marvel's Wolverine, which is still in development for PS5. The documents appear to outline the developers' plans for the next decade and beyond. According to Cyber Daily, the leaks amount to 1.67 terabytes of data, spanning over 1.3 million files. It's claimed that 98% of the data has been leaked so far, suggesting the remaining 2% may have been sold. Probably that was personal data. It should be noted that among the data is personal information, including purported employees' passport scans, internal emails, and confidential information such as licensing contracts. Much like with the Marvel's Wolverine leaks, considering the sensitive nature of the information here and the seemingly illegal means of its acquisition, we won't be sharing any of the details on Push Square. So, I am not going to go over any of the personal data. It does not benefit me at all, and I think personal data is personal data. Now again, I'm not going to be showing you any of the leaked material, but I am going to be talking about it. And like some of the leaked material have been these concept shots, this concept art that has been released, or not released, but that was made in Insomniac. And like, first off, whoever did the concept art, props. I mean, this stuff is gorgeous. And like, one of the cool things about the concept art is that they're revealing some of the potential villains you'd be facing as Wolverine. Like, one of the villains is Omega Red, which I remember him being a serious villain in the cartoons and comics, but they've never really shown Omega Red in the films. And so, like, that'll be interesting, a lesser-known Wolverine enemy. And then they're showing Mr. Sinister. That'll be cool. And then Lady Deathstrike is back. That'll be interesting. And they're also showing that this will take place partially in Japan, which Wolverine had quite a few comic books in Japan. And I really wish I could show these concept art, because, I mean, it's really great-looking concept art. It's easy enough to find a lot of this stuff on Reddit boards and whatnot. And then there's a concept art of Wolverine fighting Mystique as she's like shifting, and like, great artwork. I mean, whoever made this, impressive art. And then concept art of him fighting Sabretooth. It sounds like if all of Wolverine's most iconic villains are going to be in this game, which is kind of exciting. And there's people making, like, saying there's rumors that they're going to cancel Wolverine now because of this leak. Why? Why cancel it? I mean, I'll play this. Like, I'll play this game. Like, from the concept art I'm saying, like, I'll absolutely play it. So what if I found out about it a little early? I think that'd be a dumb decision for Sony to cancel this. And then there's, like, a release schedule of some of the games they're going to release. Like 2023, they released Spider-Man 2, but apparently sometime in 2024 there's going to be an online portion for Spider-Man 2. I don't know how that would work. In 2025 is supposedly when Wolverine's going to release, so we're not getting Wolverine for 2024, which begs the question, what are we getting from Sony in 2024? I mean, 2024 seems a little bleak for Sony at this moment. Now, granted, it's December of 2023, okay? It's rare when you know what's coming out the following year. I remember, like, back in 2018, I had a list of, like, all upcoming games that I was interested in. It only went to February. So, we still have time to find out some really cool game coming out in 2024. It's just, as of right now, there's not a lot really exciting for Sony. And the fact that Wolverine is planned to come out in 2025, that's not coming out next year. And it makes sense that it's not coming out next year because, I mean, they just got done working on Spider-Man 2. And they have Spider-Man 2 Online supposedly coming out in 2024. But then in 2026, they're going to come out with an Wolverine Online. Which, how do you do Wolverine Online? Like, only way I could see it is if you had something kind of like Batman Arkham Origins, where everyone plays as like a grunt and then one player plays as Wolverine, and it's like everyone against Wolverine. Kind of like how they do Predator Hiding Grounds and a couple of other games like that. That's the only way I'm really seeing it. It would be weird if like you had 20 people all dressed up as Wolverine fighting each other online. Maybe that's the plan. And then in 2027, Spider-Man 3 is planned to come out. That's not surprising. And then, this is a little weird, they're showing in 2028 X-Men Online and in 2029 X-Men. It would seem like they would have it the other way around. X-Men comes out first and then the online portion of X-Men comes out. But, granted, something that Xbox said during their leaks when all of this stuff came out from the Activision like trial thing, Phil Spencer came out and said, everything you're seeing was at one point planned, but is not guaranteed for the future. And so, like, everything I'm talking about now with some of these releases, at one point, an X-Men Online was planned, but it's not guaranteed. At one point, Spider-Man 2 Online was planned, but is not guaranteed. It's very possible that they cancel Spider-Man 2 Online, Wolverine Online, and X-Men Online because ever since Jim Ryan has left, they've been shutting down multiplayer projects. Just look at the Last of Us factions. They've realized that multiplayer may not be the future of Sony. And so I would not be shocked if these 3 online outings were canceled. Because multiplayer, especially live service, is not as cracked up as it has been in the past couple of years. And then there's another graph showing Spider-Man 2 released in 2023, and then in 2025, a Venom game is supposedly going to come out, and then they're showing Wolverine in 2026, so the 2025 slot is not guaranteed for 2025 for Wolverine. And so it may come out 2025, 2026, depending on how development's going. And then 2028, they're showing Spider-Man 3. In 2029, they're showing Ratchet and Clank. So they're going to do another chapter in Ratchet and Clank. 2030, X-Men game. And then they have 2031 and 2032, a new IP. So nothing Spider-Man, Wolverine, X-Men, Ratchet, Clank related, something brand new. And it'll probably be their first new non-property IP in, gosh, a decade. And then, of course, among the leaks, there was concept art for this new Ratchet and Clank game. It's nothing spoilery. I mean, it's just showing Ratchet fighting a guy with Clank and some character off the distance. I don't know if that's female Ratchet. Oh no, there's female Ratchet right there being held by the guy. So they're bringing her back. And there's another character off in the distance. I would show you this, but I'm not going to show the leaked material. I'm just talking about it. But other companies also got hit in this leak. Like, apparently, some of Blue Point Games information was also leaked in this because the studios probably share information, and there's probably a couple of files from like Naughty Dog and Ben Studios in this. But something that was leaked from Blue Point Games was concept art for the next IP they're working on. I believe they confirmed it was an original IP. It wasn't a remake or a port. And it kind of has vibes of like Prince of Persia with, a little bit of vibes of like Shadow of War or Shadow of Mordor. And there's like some Egyptian vibes with like this lush green landscape. It looks like it's going to be a fantasy setting. I don't know what this game is, but I'll be interested to see what Blue Point Games has up those sleeves when they reveal more about it. Now, in terms of the Wolverine game, something came up that kind of royally pissed me off. And that is playable Jean Grey. Now, I'm not royally pissed off because how dare they put a woman in this game. No. I'm pissed off because it's the same thing that every freaking company has been doing recently. You promise me one thing, you give me something else. Okay? Mandalorian Season 3. I was expecting Din Djarin, you gave me Bo-Katan. Obi-Wan Kenobi. I was expecting, like an idiot, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you gave me Reva. Spider-Man 2. I was expecting, like an idiot, Spider-Man. And instead, you give me Spider-Man, Miles Morales, Mary Jane, a little bit of Venom, more Mary Jane. You make Peter Parker like a bitch. And it's like, I was expecting just to, play as Spider-Man, not try and help someone, ask someone out on a date to a prom. Okay? Like, I want to play as Spider-Man. And if you advertised Wolverine and Jean, like had the title Wolverine and Jean, fine. I'd be excited about that. I think Jean Grey would probably be a cool, playable character. But I'm sick and tired of companies telling me that I'm getting, a Wolverine game, and, oh yeah, you'll be playing as Wolverine 60% of the time. Whoa. I thought I was playing a Wolverine game. Well, 60% of the time you're playing as Wolverine. Why am I playing as the other 40%? Jean Grey. Okay. And, like, this factoid sheet says you're going to have playable Jean Grey. Jean is a hybrid range and melee fighter that uses psychic abilities and telekinesis. She can sprint, hover, and fly. She can dodge and create a psychic shield to block attacks. She has a unique overshield health mechanic, and you play as Jean Grey in 5 missions. Well, some people would go, it's only 5 missions. If there's only 15 missions in the game, that's a problem. If there's 30 missions in the game, okay, I can deal with that. But it's like, with Spider-Man 2, I wasn't offended that I'm playing as Mary Jane. I'm offended that the game director was saying, we heard everyone's criticism of Mary Jane, and we decided to say, go fuck yourself. That's what I'm pissed off about. And also, let's be honest, they're going to make her ugly as fuck, okay? I mean, they did with Mary Jane, alright? And so, like, they're going to do a Jean Grey, okay? You're going to make her ugly as hell, and they're going to have some stupid messaging where, like, Wolverine's useless, and this is really her story. And it's like, no one wants to play that game, okay? People want to play as Wolverine. If you want to make a Jean Grey game, awesome. I will play that shit. I mean, look at the Captain America Black Panther game that's in development, okay? I'm looking forward to that. Alright? They're being straight up front. They're not saying, oh, we're making a Captain America game for about 50% of the game. Wait, what? Oh, yeah, no, you're going to be playing as Captain America, don't worry. But you're also going to be playing as Black Panther. What? Like, but no, they're not doing that. They're saying you're getting a Captain America Black Panther game where it takes place in the 1940s. It's like, thank you. Thank you for being upfront and honest. That is my biggest criticism. I want Insomniac to be upfront and honest. If they were upfront and honest with Spider-Man 2, like, look, 50% of the game you're playing as Peter Parker, 40% of the game you're playing as Miles Morales, 10% of the game you're playing as Jean Grey, and about 2% of the game you're playing as Venom. It's like, okay. But no, they didn't do that. It's like you're playing as Spider-Man. The 2 Spider-Men for part of the time. You're also going to be playing as Miles' deaf girlfriend, and you're going to be playing as Mary Jane, who can one-hit kill all the enemies that takes you 10 minutes to defeat a Spider-Man. It's like, why? And so, does this make this a no-buy for me? Nah. It's just, I'm pissed off at not getting a straight answer on what I'm going to be playing. So, this is one of the negative parts of the leaks, in my opinion. Now, Jean Grey might turn out to be a really fun, awesome character, and they may not screw it up, but, you know, I'm dubious. And then there's a screenshot for something called Spider-Man The Great Web. That might be the title for the next Spider-Man sequel, or it might be code word for the Spider-Man multiplayer game. They show some screenshots showing AAA premium, multiplayer, open world, action adventure. So this might be the multiplayer game that they have planned. Might get canceled now that Jim Ryan's out. And then there's a title card for the Venom video game. It would be titled Venom Lethal Protector, an all-new storyline that continues Spider-Man 2 and leads into Spider-Man 3. So it'd be kind of like Spider-Man Miles Morales was a middle chapter between Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2. Playable, switchable Venom, and Spider Heroes. A little disappointing in that because, again, I love Spider-Man, okay? I have Spider-Man. But if you're advertising a Venom video game, I want to play as fucking Venom, okay? I don't want to play as Spider-Man in a game titled Venom Lethal Protector. This is my issue. Sex has nothing to do with it. I want to play as what you are advertising. If you give me a game called Venom Lethal Protector, give me a game where I'm playing as Venom. Sorry about that rant. I've already spent enough time on that. It would have Carnage-infected New York City boroughs, which sounds kind of cool, honestly. An 8 to 10 hour standalone experience. Golden Path would be 12 missions, 3 event bosses. Optional content would be quests, challenges, bases, crimes, and collectibles. It sounds a little bit to me like Prototype. And with that, I'm kind of excited because I love Prototype. And Prototype was kind of like the Venom game we never had. And so the fact that we might be getting a Venom game where he's fighting through Carnage-infected New York City gives me flashbacks to the infected regions of the open world New York in Prototype. That was such a fun game. And so Venom Lethal Protector sounds cool, minus the Spider Heroes that I'm playing at. Like, no, don't give me Spider Heroes. Don't give me an overpowered Mary Jane. Don't give me Venom's blind, deaf, and dumb cousin for a mission. Just give me Venom, for crying out loud. Back to the Wolverine game. They talk about the ability and progression in suits. You gain XP by completing missions and activities. XP unlocks skill points, unlocks new abilities. Some abilities are unlocked as thresholds. I'm not upset about that, but I'm a little tired of abilities unlocking at certain points in the game. It'd be kind of cool to just unlock whatever ability I want at the beginning of the game, but I'm not going to hold that against Insomniac. And then with suits and mods, you unlock new suits and missions, and or by collecting salvage to craft new suits and suit mods. Suit mods can be equipped on all suits. Some suits come with suit mods. So kind of like the Spider-Man video game, as it were. I was seeing one person criticizing Insomniac for having like the same walking animation with Wolverine as they did with Spider-Man. I don't know, you cut corners when you can. I'm not that upset by it. The side content with Wolverine will be discovery through senses and exploration. Activities include living memories, which are puzzles, bounties, which are traversal type activities, jobs, which are combat, collectibles, salvage for suit crafting, lore items, and they say we are looking for new ideas for both categories. So they're still working out the ins and outs of this. And then there's another roadmap showing like their plans. This might be a more updated one. 2025 again showing Wolverine. 2027 showing Spider-Man 3. 2029 showing X-Men. 2031 would be a new IP. Then 2033, this is weird. X-Men 3. Like, 1? 3? Where's 2? And then 2035, a second new IP. So, a screenshot of Wolverine in game with like a cowboy hat and wearing a flannel shirt. And then this one has been rubbing a lot of people the wrong way. Spider-Man 3 two-part series. Essentially, Holiday 2027 would be part 1, and Holiday 2028 would be part 2. And they plan on selling the two parts for $50, with a multiplayer coming out day and date with part 1. That's another $50 by itself. And you could get a combo for $60. And a lot of people are not looking forward to that. Not at all. And honestly, it's a fair game. You don't need to do part 1 and part 2. Okay, it's not like Last of Us, where the second one was just called Part 2. No, this is them just splitting a game into 2. It's not like a movie where, well, we split it into 2 parts because people can't sit in a theater for 5 hours. Okay, that's a good argument, but with a fail game, you can pause and play it at any time, so it can be 500 hours. Hell, we have games that are 500 hours long. Starfield, I've heard people say that you can get 600 hours out of that game. They didn't split that into 2 parts, so I don't like this. Them considering splitting Spider-Man 3 into 2 parts, especially with the campaign. No, I don't like that at all. And then, like, they're showing animation. I'm looking at one of the animation videos now. It looks very cinematic with some of the completed stuff. It's going to be fighting ninjas and whatnot, loft wall climbing. Looks like there's going to be a good chunk of anime variety. Ooh, that was cool. It was an executioner showing Wolverine grabbing a samurai sword in the middle of like a combo from an enemy that had it. So that's pretty cool, actually. More traversal, him in a bar. Jean Grey combat. Looks interesting, actually. That was pretty cool. Wolverine took a samurai sword out of his shoulder. That looked pretty brutal. Ooh, he has a boat anchor on his back. Okay, that's kind of screwed up but funny. Him using a samurai sword, that's cool. Getting a little bit of an Uncharted vibe here with some of the set pieces, which actually would work, I think. Wolverine has an eye patch, apparently. Okay. Janky animations. I mean, this is early in the build, obviously. Some Uncharted style set piecing. If that's even a word. Set piecing? Set pieces. But yeah, so like that was kind of the big things people took from the leaks. Overall, I'm optimistic. There's a couple of things I didn't like from the leaks, but for the most part, I did kind of like what I was seeing. As of right now, I would play the Wolverine video game. Absolutely. I mean, yeah, I think they should be upfront about some of the things they're planning on doing, like having Jean Grey as a playable character. They should be very upfront about that. And definitely, I'm looking forward to this. And so hopefully, if Insomniac does not throw a DMCA strike against me, I'll probably buy the Wolverine video game. If they do, though, yeah, I'm out. I already have a pretty solid Wolverine video game that they released on the Xbox 360 and PS3. Like, so I got plenty of Wolverine. Now, over on Xbox news, Bethesda finally opened up about what was coming to Starfield in the next couple of weeks, or months. I think months is more accurate. Bethesda teased 6 major new features coming to Starfield in 2024. We can't wait to continue this journey with you. The Starfield team over at Bethesda has today shared a final end-of-year message to cap off 2023, and includes a few teases about what's to come in 2024, along with details about how regular the game's updates will continue to be. We've already heard about some of these Starfield features recently, including the all-new ways of traveling, which have not yet been disclosed. So here's the list of Starfield features for 2024 that have been teased so far. City maps. Thank you. That was one of the biggest issues, is I get not having maps for the procedurally generated worlds, but the cities that are handcrafted, why wouldn't you have maps? That was so stupid. New ways to travel. I've heard that it's almost impossible to have vehicles on a creation engine map. Models have tried doing it and have failed. I don't know if Bethesda has figured out a way. Maybe it's just better teleporting. I don't know. Definitely could use a bike. Because I have not really explored in that game. I've just been doing the missions, because the exploration has not been intriguing to me at all. New gameplay options to further adjust difficulty. Not really sure what that is. Official mod support with launch of creations. I know a lot of people will be excited about that. And then the first story expansion, Shattered Space. In addition to these, we'll be getting regular updates from Starfield across Xbox and PC roughly every 6 weeks throughout the year. This will start in February of 2024, which is when the next major update will arrive. Apparently more info on all these teased Starfield features will be coming in the near future, but in the meantime, the team has thanked the fans and teased that it can't wait to continue the journey with you into the new year. So yeah, definitely Starfield. There it is. Starfield is a game that definitely needs some tuning, some improvements. I haven't reviewed it yet. I'm still working through it at my snail's pace. Early opinion of the game, I feel that it's not the complete pile of dog shit that Sony fanboys or Sony ponies have been claiming it is, but it's not the flawless masterpiece of unbelievable proportions that Xbox have been saying it is. It's kind of somewhere right in the little middle right there. And so, I mean, I'm looking forward to this game getting improved. I've had some fun with it. I've had some criticisms with it. And so, yeah, I mean. Now, something really interesting that kind of got announced a while back, but I just didn't cover it, and it got brought up again this week, was apparently Xbox is considering making a cheaper ad-filled version of Game Pass. And like, one of the things they're talking about is having it around like €2.99. So I think that would be, I don't know what the exchange rate for a euro to dollar is. Let me check that out. $3.29 United States dollar. So $3 basically for this ad-filled version of Game Pass. And like, honestly, I'm kind of intrigued by this because Game Pass is one of those things. I use it every now and then to try out games that I was a little bit on the fence on. I can play about one game a month on Game Pass. And so for $15 just to play one game, it feels like a very expensive rental to me. But with this, $3 a month, and if they do the ads right, I could totally see that as a standard subscription that I would keep paying for. Now, granted, I totally see them not having the biggest new releases on this ad-filled version, but like a couple weeks later, having those big releases come out, like I see that working. And if the ads don't happen in the middle of gameplay, but they happen when you boot up, and on the screen, like the home page screen, I see that happening. I totally see that working. I don't know, you guys might disagree with me on that, but I mean, this is kind of intriguing to me. I mean, because like when it comes to like movie streaming, I use Tubi. It's free, and there's a bunch of ads in it, but it's free. And like, when you talk about like HBO Max or just Max, Disney Plus, Netflix, Hulu, they have their cheap options that have ads, and it's like, why am I paying $10 for a version that has ads? It's kind of like too expensive. So there's kind of like a happy medium, where it's like $3, I'd probably be willing to pay for that. $5, I don't know. I would have to look at what it's offering. But I think this is kind of an interesting concept. It's looking like they would probably start it in Spain and like, South America first, like they did with some of the other things they were trying out. They usually start those in European and South American countries before they roll it out across the US. And I think it's an interesting concept. I definitely want to keep my eye on this. It could just be concept and concept only, but it'll be interesting if this rolls out sometime next year. I spent too much time on this. Let's move on to our final story. So, I teased that the last story would be something naughty, but safe for work. So, if you're watching this at work when you should be working, you don't have to switch it. Apparently, someone did like a poll, a like pie chart poll, looking at what game consoles had the most traffic to Pornhub. I shit you not. Someone actually took the time to figure out the traffic on devices, and this cracks me up. So the highest device used was the PlayStation 5. That was around 40.1% of people who use gaming consoles to view Pornhub. And the change in console traffic share from 2022 to 2023 was plus 77.3% on the PlayStation 5. At number 2 was PlayStation 4. Okay, you have like over 100 million consoles on the PS4, possibly 50 million on the PS5. It kind of makes sense. PlayStation 4 was at 41.6% of users. It dropped from 22 to 2023, 16.7%. And then at 16.7% was Xbox. So only 16.7% of people who use their game console to view Pornhub was Xbox players. Now, the 1.6% remaining is freaking hilarious. One would naturally assume the Nintendo Switch. Nuh-uh. Nintendo Switch is nowhere on here. The 1.6 remaining percent is other. And the leading ones in the other are the 3DS and the PlayStation Vita. Like, those outdid the Nintendo Switch. Like, no one is looking at Pornhub on their Nintendo Switch, but everyone is looking at Pornhub on their 3DS and PS Vita. Maybe the 3DS, like, maybe they do have 3D videos on Pornhub, so I don't know. I don't know how that works, but I just found this funny. It's not over yet. They also did an analytics search on the most searched for games, most searched for video games on Pornhub. So, guess what number 1 is? It's not Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat, something with really sexy ladies in it. Nuh-uh. It's Fortnite. It's Fortnite. Freaking Fortnite. is number 1. Number 2 is Overwatch. Number 3 is Minecraft. Minecraft is at number 3. Pokemon's at number 4. Atomic Heart is number 5. That's not surprising because of the 2 robot twins. Genshin Impact 6. Resident Evil is next. Mortal Kombat is under League of Legends. Grand Theft Auto 5 underneath that. Cyberpunk, Sims 4, Street Fighter eventually, Apex Legends, Skyrim, Splatoon, The Witcher, God of War, Super Mario, Call of Duty, Baldur's Gate, Mass Effect, Tomb Raider, Detroit Become Human, Final Fantasy, Among Us. How you have Among Us born? Red Dead Redemption, The Legend of Zelda, and then last but not least, Cuphead. That would be terrifying to see. Rule 34 of Cuphead. If you don't know what Rule 34 is, it's this internet rule where if you can imagine it, there is porn for it. So if you just like randomly say Han Solo, then Rule 34 dictates that somewhere on the internet there is pornography for Han Solo. That's what Rule 34 is, if you didn't know that. And so, just, Cuphead. Ugh. And then the most searched for video game characters. Number 1 is Chun-Li, especially in Fortnite. Then Tifa, Diva, Lara Croft, Lady Dimitrescu, Lady D from Resident Evil. That's not surprising. She became an internet sensation. Ugh, Sonic. Ugh. I don't like the mental images I'm getting from this list. Ada Mario? Mario. Widowmaker, Mercy, Jinx, Ashley, Jill Valentine, Genshin Impact, Ruby, Mona, Tracer, Lisa, Cammy. Let's just go down to the bottom. Freya from God of War. So, yeah. Someone actually took the time to do an analytic research on the most searched for video games and the most searched for video game characters on Pornhub. And the most used consoles, which apparently the Vita and the 3DS outdid the Switch. Get your act together, Switch. You gotta pump your numbers up. Those are rookie numbers. And so, yeah, that's it for this week's episode. What do you guys think about these stories I talked about? Did you disagree with me on talking about the leaks? Do you have any questions for me? What's your preferred console of choice and character? Please do not answer that in the comments down below. Some of the answers might be funny, actually. Keep it clean, people. Just, that's all I ask. Keep it clean in the comments. But anyway, that's been this week's episode of the Console Wars podcast. My name's Christopher Connell with 11 Hour Reviews, and that will be all for today.